few Americans have been hit as hard as farmers. The tariffs and China's retaliation have really been a gut punch, especially for soybean farmers.
New tonight, a $20 billion bailout for Argentina is upsetting farmers. That Iowa soybean farmer says we could be headed for another farm crisis after China halted purchases of U.S. soybeans.
According to Reuters, the United States exported $18.2 billion worth of soybeans to China in 2022. By 2023, the figure had dropped to $15.1 billion, and by the end of 2024, it had collapsed to zero. That's right, zero exports to what was once America's biggest buyer of soybeans. It's a stunning reversal that's left countless farmers across the Midwest asking one question: what happens when your largest customer suddenly walks away? For decades, soybeans have been the lifeblood of U.S. agriculture, the foundation of billions in exports and millions of rural livelihoods. But now, America's soybean belt, from Iowa to North Dakota, is facing a silent economic crisis. The roots of the problem can be traced back to a trade war rekindled in May 2024, when former President Donald Trump reinstated sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods, citing what he called unfair trade manipulation. In response, Beijing hit back with a steep 25% import duty on American soybeans, a move that effectively priced the U.S. out of the global market. Within weeks, China pivoted toward Argentina and Brazil, buying up record volumes from South America. The result? American silos are filled with unsold soybeans, and farmers are left with rising storage costs, shrinking margins, and an uncertain future. Data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture USDA paints a stark picture of decline. 2022, $18.2 billion in soybean exports to China. 2023, $15.1 billion. 2024, $12.4 billion. 2025, $0, no recorded bulk purchases. For farmers like April Hermes, who runs a 1,000-acre operation in north-central Iowa, these numbers aren't just statistics. They represent an entire year's work, lost markets, and broken expectations. She joined a recent broadcast to share what life looks like when the world's largest agricultural buyer suddenly turns its back. Iowa, we're lucky, Hermes explains. We've got livestock and biodiesel plants, so at least we can sell locally. But for farmers up north, North Dakota, South Dakota, they're struggling. Commercial storage costs have gone through the roof because exports to China just aren't there anymore. Her voice reflects the growing anxiety across rural America. Even with domestic markets, U.S. farmers depend on China for roughly 1/4 of their soybean exports. Without that demand, prices have dropped below sustainable levels. Hermes adds, my average cost per bushel next year will be around $11, but I'll only be able to sell for less than $10. That means losing about $1 per bushel on everything I grow. Across the Midwest, that loss adds up to billions in unrealized revenue, and it's pushing some small farms toward insolvency. While American farmers wait for policy relief, South American exporters have seized the moment. In September 2024, China finalized record deals with Argentina, following Buenos Aires' temporary removal of its export tax on soybeans. Within 48 hours, Chinese buyers purchased enough to cover several months of demand, according to Bloomberg. The move was devastating for U.S. farmers. Not only did Argentina and Brazil fill the gap, they gained long-term market trust. Hermes calls it an insult to injury. She says the timing couldn't have been worse. We had just finished harvest. That's usually when China buys the most from us because prices are low and supply is high. But instead, they went to Argentina, bought everything they needed, and walked away. The White House's strategy has only deepened the rift. President Trump's decision to extend a $20 billion financial package to Argentina, meant as a geopolitical counterweight to China, ironically strengthened a direct competitor to U.S. farmers. For many in Iowa, it felt like betrayal. We just want free and fair trade, Hermes said. We know that's hard to achieve, but government payments don't fix the problem. Most of that money ends up paying for fertilizer or land rent. It never reaches the farmer's pocket. Her words echo a sentiment shared across farming communities. Government aid cannot replace long-term export stability. Analysts from CNBC estimate that up to 75% of federal relief payments to farmers are indirectly absorbed by input suppliers, not producers. At the heart of this story lies a recurring phrase, free and fair trade. It's what every farmer in America hopes for, yet it remains elusive. Tariffs, counter-tariffs, and currency manipulation have turned agriculture into a political battlefield rather than a business. According to the Wall Street Journal, the current soybean standoff has already wiped out over $6.5 billion in U.S. farm income since mid-2024. Meanwhile, Brazilian soybean exports to China rose by 14% during the same period. For now, the world's two largest economies remain locked in a trade cold war, and U.S. farmers are paying the price. In Iowa, some are adapting. With fewer international buyers, local biodiesel plants and livestock producers have become essential buyers of soybeans for feed and fuel. But that's not enough to offset export losses. Hermes explains, after domestic demand is filled, the rest is used to go straight to China. Now there's just nowhere for it to go. Some farmers are choosing to store their soybeans in hopes of a rebound next year, but storage itself has become costly. Commercial storage companies are charging higher rates because inventories are full, and export flows are stagnant. A USDA economic analysis released in October 2025 warns that soybean stockpiles are now at their highest level since 2019, increasing financial strain on small producers. The cycle is self-defeating. Tariffs raise costs. Government payments try to compensate. Suppliers adjust prices upward, absorbing the aid. Hermes summarized it clearly. Those payments don't go to farmers. They go right back to fertilizer companies and landlords who know we're getting help. As inflation persists and interest rates remain elevated, smaller farms are being squeezed hardest. The American Farm Bureau Federation warns that more than 12% of U.S. soybean farms are now considered at risk due to unsustainable input costs. Experts believe China's pivot away from the U.S. is part of a long-term strategic shift. By diversifying its supply chain through South America and even exploring soybean cultivation partnerships in Africa, China is reducing dependency on American commodities. Trade analysts from Brookings Institution say this could permanently alter global agricultural trade routes. Economist Dr. Lydia Barnes from the University of Illinois told Bloomberg, the next farm bill must focus on export diversification, not just domestic subsidies. Relying on one market, even a large one like China, has proven unsustainable. In her analysis, the U.S. needs bilateral trade efforts with other importers, such as Indonesia and India, both of which have a rising demand for soybean meal and oil. Back in Iowa, the story ends not with outrage, but quiet endurance. April Hermes, and thousands like her, continue planting, harvesting, and hoping for resolution. Their daily work reflects both resilience and vulnerability, the quiet strength of people who depend on global stability but have little control over it. We just keep going, she says softly. We hope they agree soon. Because for farmers, every season is a gamble, and this one feels heavier than most. Her words echo across the plains, across silos filled with unsold grain, across rural towns that once thrived on export income. From trade tables in Washington to farmlands in Iowa, the soybean standoff reveals a deeper truth. Global politics may dictate prices, but it's farmers who live with the consequences. Until a new trade balance is restored, America's heartland will continue to bear the cost of geopolitical rivalry. One harvest at a time. If you found this report informative, consider subscribing to Maple States. Your support helps us continue delivering calm, fact-based journalism from North America's heartland. Goal, 1,000 subscribers, Schachbernischeiß, 1,000 likes, Sagtersdeit, best comment pinned.